So let's do questions 6 through 10. We can see that we need to create these directories right here. Test 1, Test 2, and Test 3. Notice that we're located at the top of the hierarchy, not the desktop. So we're not going to create these directories in our desktop. We're going to create them in File Explorer. Now we can do it through PowerShell, but in this particular case it's you can just simply use File Explorer because the PowerShell commands are identical to the Linux command, which we've already learned. So let's click on the C drive. What I did was I just simply scrolled down until I found it. If you don't see the C drive, just expand this icon here that says My PC. Okay, and before we do anything, I encourage you to explore the toolbar at the top. You have a lot of options here for manipulating the files. If I go to View, you can change how the files appear. Okay, so make sure you explore in here and you're familiar with those commands. So we're in the root of the C drive. It's a little hard to see, but if you look carefully, you'll see here in the address bar there's a backslash, so we're going to right click in the white space right here, go to New, create a folder, and we'll name it to Test 1. Okay, let's go into Test 1, create a second folder. This is your Test 2 folder. All right, and click on it. And look at your address bar. Okay, so if you click right here, you see Test 1 inside, or Test 2 inside Test 1 inside the root. So that is correct. Now we want to return to the root. There's a few different ways of doing this. I can click on my C drive here. I can click on my C drive up here. I can click up, so I can go from Test 2 to Test 1, and then from Test 1 to C drive. If I click the up button 2 times, and in this case I can click the back button. Okay, now let me show you in the diagram the difference between up and back. So if I'm right here in Test 2 and I click up, I'm obviously going up the tree. However, if my previous directory was Test 3 and I'm currently in Test 2, the back button will just return me to Test 3. It is not going to move me up. So that is one subtle difference between up and back. So you choose your favorite way to get back to the root of the C drive. So there we are. We're back in the root of C drive. We can see Test 1. Click in the white space. Create a Test 3. And we've now created the files and directories. Now notice here that Test 1 is here and Test 3 is here. To rectify that situation, you can click on the name bar here at the top, and you can see now they're sorted alphabetically by name. Sort ascending, meaning going up, A, B, C, D, E, or you can sort descending, starting from the largest letter or highest letter all the way down to letter A, and then the non-alphabetic symbols. So let's continue. Okay, so I think we've created the directories. Now we need to copy all the files in System32, okay, from that begin with the letter X, and we're going to copy them here to Test 2. So let's continue. Okay, we know we need to go to the C drive. Okay, just return any way you want. Double click on Windows. Let's go to, now these yellow icons you see here, these are directories. They contain more files and more directories. In Windows we call them folders. Folder and directory mean the same thing. There's no difference. Okay, and if you don't see it right away, oops, let's go to System32, not quite there yet. Okay, and you can scroll all the way down. Now, make sure they're sorted alphabetically. If you've accidentally sorted them by date modified, they're all going to be jumbled up. Okay, if you look here, let's sort it by date here. You don't see any order here with the letters P and then F and then M. We want all the X's together, so sort them by name. Just in case you don't have these titles at the top, these title bars, remember you need to go to the View and make sure you're viewing your files in terms of details. Alternatively, you can just see lists of files or content. Okay, there's different ways of making those files appear. We're going to select details. We're going to make sure it's sorted alphabetically. We're going to scroll down till we get to X, so we're at letter D. Here's a little trick a lot of people don't know about. Just click any one file. Once you've passed the directories and you're in the files, press the letter X, and it goes there automatically. Now, there's more than one way of highlight or one way of selecting all the files that begin with X. One way is to select the first one. Okay, scroll down a bit. Now you can't see it on your screen, but I'm holding the Shift key down on my keyboard. That's on the left side, the Shift key. Look what happens when I select the last file that starts with X. They are now all selected. Alternatively, if you have a steady hand, let's go to the first file, there it is. If you click in the white space right beside that first file, click and hold, and then while you're holding, sweep across. You can just sweep down and just kind of move it up and down and make sure you only have the files that begin with X selected. And like I said, you need a steady hand for this. Okay, so there you go. We have all the files that begin with X selected. The next part is very important. We're in System 32, which is inside Windows. Never, never change any of the files here. Don't rename them. Don't move them. Okay, don't change them in any way. So what I want to do is I want to right-click on the blue space, do a copy. If I do a cut, it's going to move the files and it's going to damage the operating system. Do not do cut here because you're in the operating system files right now. Let's do copy to make duplicate copies. Go back to your root. There are different ways of doing it. Find your favorite method. Click here, click up, whatever you prefer. Find test 1, and then go to test 2, and then do a right click and paste. And now we have all those files copied to test 2. So let's continue with the next question. In here, we want to delete all files that begin, delete all files with a DLL extension. So if we return here, okay, so let me just go over that again. We're going to delete all files that have a DLL extension. So let's go to that directory. Make sure you're in test 2. Okay, make sure that you're in view and you have selected details. And the reason for that is we want to sort the files by type. So we don't necessarily want to sort them by name. Here's a PNG file and then a DLL and then an .exe file. What we want to do is we want to get all these DLL files, the files that have this extension, together. Okay, so this time we're going to click Type at the top. You can see now the first few files are applications. Look at the extension, .exe. If you don't see that .exe, make sure you select here. Okay, so you can see the extension. So we have all the .exe files together, and look at that. After that, we have all files that have a DLL extension. They're called application extension. And file type is determined by these extensions. If you keep going down, the PNG files are together and so on. So once you've sorted them by type, you'll be able to select just the DLL files, nothing else. Just DLL. So look carefully, make sure You're only selecting those DLL files. Go down to the last file, okay, and then you can right-click and delete. And when you're done, you should only see, I don't know, about 10 files or so. It depends on how your system is set up and configured. I have this number of files remaining, and none of them, if you look through them, none of them end with DLL. And in the next question, after we delete them, we want to take any one file and move. Now remember, moving and copying are two different things. When you copy, you're making a duplicate. When you move, it's going to disappear from one location and be placed in another location. So let's try that now. Doesn't matter which file you choose. I'm just going to choose the first one right there. And this time, instead of copy, I'm going to do a cut. Warning, make sure you're not in System 32. Make sure you're not in Windows. Make sure you're not in any critical folder. If you're in the folders that you created, you can move it with cut. Okay, so we'll go back to the root. We'll go to Test 3, right-click, and paste. And there it is. So we have now successfully moved one file. And I think the last thing we need to do is rename it to my file. And believe it or not, renaming might seem simple enough, but there is a trick to it. If you have the file extension here box under the View menu selected, okay, you see the exe at the end, okay, and if you remove it, the exe is removed. So I'm going to first uncheck it so I can rename the file. Okay, so we're going to call this my file. Press enter. All right, and if I click on file extension here, okay, we see myfile.exe. That exe determines file type in Windows. It means it's an application, a program, and if you change that extension to something else or remove the exe at the end, it's no longer going to be recognized as an application by Windows. Let's go ahead and do it again. I'm going to rename the whole file, including the extension. My file. Now there's no extension here. Okay, so there's no .exe at the end. I press enter. I get a warning from Windows, okay, that the file now will become unusable because I got rid of the extension. Are you sure you want to do this? Sure, why not? This is a copy. It's not the original. And that's another way that you can rename files. So be aware of that. Do you want to change the file extension at the end, or do you want to keep it the same? That's something that you need to think about when renaming files.